Hello, 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 and welcome to the BiggerPockets Money Podcast, episode 124. My name is Mindy Jensen, and with me as always is my early starting co-host, Scott Trench.
Early starting, you know, Mindy, I actually wake up at 8:50 on the dot every single day. It turns out this is actually a condition called tendinitis.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. I had to look that one up.
Scott is a well-documented not early riser, but you did start early on your path to financial independence.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll take that.
And Scott and I are here to make financial independence less scary, less just for somebody else, and show you that by following the proven steps, you can put yourself on the road to early financial freedom and get money out of the way so you can lead your best life.
That's right. Whether you want to retire early and travel the world, go on to make big-time investments in assets like real estate, or are just getting started later on the road to financial freedom, we'll help you build a position capable of launching yourself towards those dreams.
Scott, I am supercharged for today's show. Gerry is a teacher who is married to a teacher, and you know how much teachers make, right? So he is rolling in dough, right? They also started a little bit later on their journey to financial independence, a little bit later than people we normally hear from. They didn't start until he was 33, and to add on to that, they started off with $45,000 in student loan debt and 2 broken down cars.
Yeah, and when we launch into the podcast here, there's a couple of terms we want to share with you right before we get started with the interview with Gerry, just because they're central to his approach. He's got a really sophisticated, tax-advantaged approach to saving, and he uses 4 accounts in that approach, right? Those 4 accounts are an IRA, an HSA, a 457, and a 403B. Now, most of you listening are probably familiar with an IRA, just an individual retirement account, and an HSA, a health savings account, because we've talked about those on past episodes. If you're not, we'll link to those in the show notes, or episodes that discuss those in depth in the show notes, and you can go check them out. The 403B and the 457 you might not be as familiar with because they're specific to teachers or certain government employees in particular. The 403B, think of as the teacher equivalent of an employer 401k. That's it. It's just their vehicle for achieving that tax deferred advantage. And the 457 is a little bit of an interesting account in the sense that it's a tax deferred account, but it doesn't really have the long-term investing advantages and opportunities that a traditional 401k, 403b, or IRA might have. And so Gerry really uses it as an account where he can save money tax deferred and then withdraw from it penalty free, but it still generates taxable income when he's perhaps taking a year off of teaching or not working for a year, has a low income year, right? So again, those 4 accounts are IRA, HSA, 403b, and 457. And I think you're going to be blown away by how Gerry and his wife use these accounts to achieve a really low taxable income and build massive, massive wealth on 2 teacher incomes. Gerry, aka the Millionaire Educator, welcome to the BiggerPockets Money Podcast. We're super pumped to have you. So Gerry, let's get right to it. How did you retire early on a teacher's salary at all, let alone as a millionaire?
Well, I wish I could tell you I'm super smart or I had some magic, but the reality is it's good old hardcore savings. I would shoot for filling all the buckets and ideally 100% savings rate.
Wait, what? 100% savings rate?
That's what I start with. That's my mental vision.
Okay,
so,
explain that.
How do you live for free?
Oh, well, I have some funds in an IRA that I use a 72T distribution from, which means I'm able to access that money without penalties. Get about $18,000 a year out of that. We also use money from 457 funds because they do not have a pre-59 and a half year penalty. So from there, we just kind of piecemeal. We live on what we have and we save as much money as we can.
So when you say 100% savings rate, someone listening might think, hey, that means that this person's not spending any money at all and is living for $0 in cost. Is that true? Or what are your kind of fixed expenses for your lifestyle?
That would be magical, wouldn't it? Live on zero. No, I would say our structural costs are really low. Our house we paid it was $68,000. We live in a low-cost area of the United States. Um, I say, I don't budget. We just spend our money, but I would say we live on 2,000 to 2,500, maybe 3,000 a month, uh, depending on what we need. But a good lifestyle is very economical here in this part of the United States. We have one car. I live 100 yards, maybe 110 yards from my job. So I walk down there every day with my son. He goes to school there. I teach there. And my wife, the last 2 years, has also taught there, but she's not going to be teaching next year. But we got in the car once, twice a week, so we don't have any transportation costs. So our overhead's pretty low.
So when you say you're at 100% savings rate, what are you saying that your investments cover your entire lifestyles, giving your meaning that your wage income can cover your spending?
Yeah, that's probably not true. In my case, the way I view it is I try to fill up all our tax advantage buckets, namely the 457, 403B, IRA, and HSA.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might live from the remains of my paycheck. Now, if I was really flush with money, like say I had a side hustle kicking in some good money, and thus far, that's not the case, I would probably take the remains of my paycheck and just put it in index funds or even been thinking about a rental property. But I always try to make sure I fund those pre-tax, those tax advantage buckets. That's been the secret sauce for us.
Okay, you mentioned the 457 plan, which is something that we heard way back on the Jamila Souffrant show, Scott, if you remember that. She mentioned casually that her husband had this 457 plan. That was the first time I'd ever heard of this, where he could put in the same, it has the same limit as the 401k contributions every year. But when he left the 457 plan job, he could take all the money out of there, tax-free, penalty-free. Is it tax-free? Or just penalty free?
No, just penalty free. It comes in
okay.
as income. So
okay. So
yeah,
you are putting money into your 457 plan. Is that correct?
Yes, I always max that one first. To give you an example, the January through April, I've done 5,200 every month to my 457.
And then you can instantly turn around and withdraw that if you choose, and just pay taxes on that.
When I separate service, meaning quit my job, then I can access that money and it comes in as regular income with no penalty. So you want to do some basic tax planning. You got to know what your income is for the year, and then you can assess what you're going to owe. So anytime I take money from that, it's kind of strategic. And then, when I get to the next tax year, I can start doing it again within a certain, I call it my tax pain threshold. I try not to go, too far deep into the 12% bracket. And give you an example, and this is a post, probably my most requested post every year. And it's kind of ironic because I'm not a tax expert. It's called 2020 Free Money. And basically, I just reverse engineer my taxes and show how much money I can earn before I owe any money. And I know off the top of my head right now, 2020, about $45,000 for our family of three. And then after $45,000, I'm in the 12% bracket. So right off the bat, I'm making informed tax decisions, as opposed to many people who just fly blind, scream April 15th and talk about how everything's not fair. Just that little bit of planning helps me. It goes a long way for us.
I love that. And your tax advantaged accounts, just for folks that are not following along here, are the HSA, the IRA, the 457, and the 403B, right?
Correct.
I think that most of our listeners are probably familiar with IRAs and HSAs because we've discussed them a lot. And Mindy asked a great question or had a great commentary on the 457. Could you recap the 403B for us?
Yes. 403B is pretty much the teacher and public service job sector's 401k. Okay. And it has the same limits as a 401k, has the same, what do you call it? The catch-up contribution limits, just exactly the same. Now, I would say this, just be aware, many 403Bs, there's a wide range of products out there. They're kind of infamous for their very high fees. So you just know that going in and ask questions. The beauty of the 403B and the 457 is that you can max both of them out. So essentially, I have two 401k plans. Okay. And then, like we just said, the 457's even more special in that when you separate service, you can pull from that account without pre-59.5 penalties.
Got it. Okay, so you have all four of these buckets that you're playing with here, and your goal is to get below that $45,000 income and adjusted gross income mark, so that you're in the 12% or less tax bracket. Is that right? Or
Yes.
you're not even in the 12% tax bracket until that point, right?
Correct.
Nice. I love it. So this is a very tax advantaged approach. Which order do you approach these four buckets in, and why?
Okay, good question. I always go 457 first because of that little special wrinkle. When I leave a job, I want that account to be as big as possible because I refer to it as a freedom fund. Yeah, I don't have an emergency fund because if I ever lost my job, I'm going to have access to those funds. So I always go 457 and then I go 403B because, I can only contribute those 12 months. And then the IRA and the HSA, to me, that's a wash either way because I've got to April of the following year to stuff money in those accounts. So, but you can't go back in time on your 403B or your 457.
Got it.
Ooh.
And so in most years, are you able to max out all of those accounts? Or do you come up short for some of them, or how do you kind of handle that?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. When I first started doing this about 2003, I was just doing the 403B and the IRA. And the least we ever saved since 2003 is $30,000. Well, then later I learned about the 457. And I have to admit, we couldn't fund all the accounts back then. Just didn't have the cash flow. We had too much house in LaGrange, Georgia. But we got that account up to about $90,000. And I kept going through my mind, how can I blast all these accounts and fill all the buckets? Well, then I realized, wait, you've probably been in a job where it starts to feel a little stale and you're looking for another place to go. And so we were kind of in that mood, and we realized, well, wait, if we took another job, we could access our $90,000 in the 457 account and kind of pull from that strategically. And then our new job, we could fill all the buckets. So in 2009, 2010, we took a job here in Eccles County. It was the first time we came through here. And for 3 years, we pulled about $30,000 a year out of that 457. And then at the same time, we were maxing out all of our accounts. And I wrote a post on that. It's called How We Saved $250,000 by Taking Crappy Jobs, because no one understood why we'd moved to this really rural spot. Well, it turns out it was perfect for us. We love it here. We actually, like I said, bought a house here now. But people just thought, why would you leave and go there? And then when they saw what we did, they're like, oh, because I didn't know anybody saving $250,000, in 3 years. So that now that we're always willing to leave a job and then access that 457 as needed, and that allows us ever since then to fill all the buckets.
Awesome. Well, that's the story here. I think I love your approach to this and how you're so tax advantaged with it. But let's kind of hear the whole story arc here and get back to this point where you're at right now. Where does the journey begin for you? Maybe starting in college or high school or even back that far.
Yeah. I'm from the pre-internet generation, so all we ever did was play sports and read sports books, it seems. And I grew up in Ringgold, Georgia, and being that I grew to 6'7", and I like basketball, that's what my focus was on. And I became a basketball player at Davidson College, got a scholarship there. And I went there, and, I was pretty aimless. Not that I'm a dumb person, but I just was rudderless for academically for many years. And so I didn't really burn it up there academically, didn't know what I wanted to do. And what I'm getting at here is I think, I played basketball and Argentina and El Salvador, and I traveled and learned Spanish. But I didn't have any money saved up. I had no idea what I was shooting for, what I was aiming for. And I took my first teaching job around 27, and I think I got paid $18,000 a year. I thought, wow, there's no real prospects in this. So I met my wife that summer, and we were madly in love and, inseparable from then on. But my plan was to go get an MBA. So she and we went out to Texas and did that. And I also did another degree at Southern Miss in Hattiesburg for Spanish education and ESL. So I got skills all of a sudden that were very marketable. That was really good decision on my part. However, the downside was we were $45,000 in the hole. Never had any debt in my life up to that point. One way or the other, I didn't have wealth or debt.
And this is at age 27 or
no,
2 years after that?
This is, I guess by the time I graduated from grad school, I was 31 and my wife would have been 29. So with my newfound degrees, I got a job in Saudi Arabia being an ESL teacher at their Naval Academy. So I just remember thinking, man, I have to buy my freedom back. And I just started sending whole checks in to on the student loans. And I guess after 18 months, 2 years, I can't remember specifically, we had our debts paid off and we were at zero. So what was that? I was 33, net worth is zero. Yes, Mindy.
I feel like I have to raise my hand when I'm talking to a teacher. But did you just say you went to Saudi Arabia?
Yes, I went there on I guess it was a contract. That was another contract with the Navy. So, it's not real easy to get in there, but all that paperwork was taken care of, and I think I made $39,000 the first year, and all housing paid for. Only thing I had to pay for was phone, internet, and food, and that wasn't very bad.
Okay, wait. Were you in the Navy? Are you?
No, I'm not. A lot of people think I am military because I generally have short hair, but I'm not. But I was on a military contract, and at their Naval Academy, the first thing they do is get a year of English. So I was there to teach them English. And yeah, it was quite an experience.
Okay, now I'm confused. You were working for the Saudi Arabian Navy?
Technically, I worked for Booz Allen and Hamilton out of Washington, D.C., a big consulting firm. And they, in turn, had a contract with the U.S. Navy, who had one with the Saudi Navy. And that's how it all
Okay, but you're teaching people from Saudi Arabia how to speak English.
Yeah, basically they're Annapolis.
And okay.
Yes, and it's a 3-year program they have, and the first year is all English. And some of them came in, they've been world travelers, they already spoke really nice English. Some people were fresh out off the camel, literally, they were Bedouin tribesmen, and who they were fresh off the boat, so to speak. So we really had our hands full trying to get them to learn some basic English.
So with this, you're 33 years old and you just paid off a bunch of debt. And I love the fact that it sounds like you just went all out paying off the debt. You lived fairly bare bones, it sounds like, and put the whole paycheck towards it.
Yes, correct. I think my first paycheck I got was like for a month and a partial month. And I think it was like $4,000. And I think I held like 1,000 back. And then I would just send the rest in. And then it's like, man, I think I can get my next check. I can, get through that. So I think I maybe held 500 back or something. And I was just like 2,500. And then, I wasn't super frugal back then. I probably would have got it done a lot faster had I really known about frugality in general. But, keep in mind, this is pre-fire. There's no internet in Saudi Arabia at that time. So, I mean, we're just flying blind trying to figure it out.
Okay, got it. Well, was at any point so I love the mental approach of, hey, I'm gonna pay this thing down really aggressively. Was financial freedom, and you mentioned freedom earlier, was the concept of financial freedom, building wealth on your mind at that point, or was it mostly just to get out of debt?
Well, that's a good question, because at first it was just I wanted to get up to zero, and I guess the way I thought it, I realized when I was in debt, my salary was not mine. I mean, people had dibs on it, and that just didn't sit well with me. And that's even today. So many people are so accustomed to debt. I think that's insane. So I was like wanting to get up to zero and be a free man for all practical purposes. And so when I would go earn money, it'd be my money. But I don't hear people talk like that, except in the fire community. So that was it. But there was a shift there. I was in New Orleans working with my dad. The contract fell through for a while. So we were sent home for about, I think, 8-9 months. And I found a book in Saudi in at the public library. It was Paul Terhorst's book. It's my favorite book. Cashing In on the American Dream: How to Retire at 35. I bought many a copy on Amazon, and it gave me a vision about, wow, if I had a certain amount of money, I could just live from the money. And being that I was a Spanish teacher, I've been to Brazil, and I like traveling. I always liked that lifestyle. Got a little bit of a wander. I've still some wanderlust in me. But if I had enough money, I could just kind of go do my thing. And that was just revolutionary to me, thinking like that.
Love it. So that moment, that's a critical part we always try to hone in on, is when that moment occurs for anybody that comes on the show here. When was that relative to your journey? Was that after you paid off your debt? Was that while you're in the process of paying off your debt? Was that after you started to accumulate a little bit?
I think my student loan was done and my wife's was partially done. So this would be about 1990, toward the end of 97, 98, right there. But then I remember when our contract got restarted and went back over there. Man, I was a man on a mission. And at that point, we stayed until 9/11, and we had zero debt and $100,000 saved. Now,
so right around that point, right around that inflection point, it sounds like, where you're approaching zero is where you discovered this.
Yes. And I see, all of a sudden, I knew what to do with my money. I'd also read some of the Bogle books, Bogle on mutual funds. I learned about index investing and keeping your eye on costs and diversification. And what's really ironic about all this is I had an MBA, but I never had any money. So I didn't really know anything about money, because I know, it's very theoretical if you have none. But I remember having like $3,000 and $5,000 in my bank account. And I was like, wow. Yeah, it was just mind blowing. And then I started, with some index funds.
Nice. So what did that look like? So it's not so well here. We're in 1998, 1999 is when you discovered this concept, and then by 2001, you're worth six figures in this. What can you walk us through that timeline? Was it just consistently applying it to index funds, and you find yourself in that position? Was there strategy behind that, or asset allocation that you're playing with?
Well, I was always very big on the KISS style funds. Keep it simple. I really like the life strategy funds. I think one of my funds was the life strategy growth, because they had low fees and, U.S. stock, international stock, some bonds, some inflation index bond. So I didn't have to do any thinking or monitoring. I love products like that. So that was, I think, where most of my money was. And I had about $30,000 with my 401k that is in that number, because I was technically employed by a U.S. firm. So that, I guess I had $70,000 and then that 30. But yeah, you're right. It was $100,000, and that was. I just thought I'm the richest guy in the world. It's all relative, right?
Absolutely. That first 100,000 is the hardest. It's the slog or the grind that gets you to that, I think. And then it's I think that I'm foreshadowing here. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I bet you that low cost, keep it simple, stupid index fund thing made the next $900,000 not too much more difficult than that first 100,000. So.
Yeah, it's not very sexy, when you're using those type of funds, but they sure work, and you got to take your lumps with the market gyrations. But if you're patient and being that I became frugal over the years more so, I don't need a lot of money to live on, so I can just kind of wait it out.
Okay, so you said that you were there until 9/11. You were in Saudi Arabia till 9/11. Where did you go after that?
Oh, let's see. My wife and I thought we'd go back to South Texas, and we went there, and that just didn't work out. I got a teaching job there, and I don't know. I didn't like the school, didn't like the setup, so went back to Georgia, and we went to a job fair. Not, our big plan was we were getting my wife certified to teach, and then we were going the international school circuit, see the world, teaching, at American schools or international schools. Well, we went to a job fair in Georgia, and we found a job in LaGrange, Georgia. And they had a job for her to basically teach technology ed. She has a degree in architecture from Georgia Tech. And I was a Spanish teacher. And we ended up taking it because it was halfway from my hometown of Ringgold and her hometown of Tifton, Georgia. So, we thought we were going to do a year there, get her certified, and then blow out of there. Well, one year led to 7 years. And along the way, we got comfortable there. And that's where we started really learning about 403Bs, and we did our IRAs. And in those 7 years, we went from about $100,000 to $450,000. And it was funny because I kept thinking, we should be able to save more. I kind of felt like, I don't know, I wasn't, since I knew I had buckets that weren't filled, that was kind of driving me crazy. And that's where we went to that phase I described earlier, where we separated service and used the 457 money. And then since 2010, it's just been, we fill all the buckets anytime we can, anytime we work.
So you said you thought you should be saving more, but I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of applause for saving $350,000 on 2 teacher salaries in 7 years. Is that a common teacher salary occurrence?
No. Anytime you're going to do something like this, you're just going to be out of step and offbeat. And, I didn't know. Me personally, it was watching my net worth grow. It's just kind of a way of keeping score. And I realized how easy it was to do in those pre-tax funds. But my friends would ask me, some of my coaching buddies, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I didn't really have an answer to tell them. I had no fire number in mind. Because that, like I said, that wasn't on the radar yet. And I guess the point is, you don't have to have a reason, just save money. You'll find that when you have money behind you, coupled with a awesome frugal lifestyle, is the way I always describe it, man, your life has a lot of options, tons.
So over this period from 2001 till the present, basically, I'm gathering was there an acceleration trend in general where you're saving more and more each year as you're optimizing your lifestyle or earning more? Was it pretty even the whole time?
No, it really got accelerated about 2010. That was the first year we maxed everything, and that year was 75. I think 2011 was 75 again. And 76 the following year. Plus, I'm counting in my number the 250, also my son's education accounts. So, and then, as we got over 50, my wife and I'm 56 now, my wife's 53, and we got those catch-up contributions, and that really pushed the numbers higher. And to give you an example, I believe it was year 2015, we saved was 106,000 in that year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then, we worked through to 2016, finish out the year. So that's January through May, but it's 8 paychecks. We saved all those. And so basically for working 5 months, we saved, I think, 88,000. It was 10,000 a month. I mean, all day long.
Now I know that as teachers, I believe the salary increases every year are fairly predictable and begin to stack up over the course of a career. So I imagine that's a contributing factor to on the income front. But were you also, well, first of all, can you confirm or deny that? And then second, were you doing any work on the side, like after hours or in the summers? Yeah.
Oh, let's see. As far as the pay scale, it is very predictable. I'm maxed out. It's after 21 years that you can't go any higher. But after grad school, we had our master's degrees. And then my wife and I went about 2005, 2006. We did our educational specialist degrees. And that was worth $6,000 more a year each for doing the same job. So I call that income maximization, just doing all I could to get the pay bump. And then my 7 years at LaGrange, every year I did what they call extended day. I had no planning period. So I would usually do that during my lunch period, like make copies and things. But so I got 25% more by teaching an extra class both semesters. But I did that 7 straight years, and most of my coworkers said I would never do that. I used to think, are you nuts? 25%, and I'm here the same time you are, and I have to stay a little extra. My coaching duties, I think the most I ever made coaching was like $2,500, $3,000 at that job. Now I coach here, so that's like I get, I don't know, probably ends up being $8,000, $9,000 for that. But wait, what was this other question you had? That
Well, were you working in the summers or
oh yeah,
or
yeah.
in the off time?
Yeah, I wish I had a really good side hustle story to tell you, but in the summers, I generally would do like, I'd go to team camp with them, and that was just expected. And I just took my summers to myself. Go hang out with my brother. He'd rent a beach place. We'd go hang out there for a week or two and go see family. We both have big families. We go see people, and we just do some low cost vacations. We had a great time.
But
You
this
have
is impossible.
You have a great side hustle story because you made 25% more by not having a planning period. And what does the planning
Yeah,
period do? I mean, when I'm at work, I'm working the whole time. I don't get any planning periods. And I'm not talking smack about teachers at all. I have been doing their job for the last 6 weeks, and it sucks. And you deserve a 50,000% raise. I mean, you don't need it clearly, but all the other teachers. But no. So, what do you do in a planning period?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're disciplined, unlike me, you get a lot of work done, and I'll print out some things and go make my copies and maybe do a little planning. But it's very easy to get down the rabbit hole on the internet and start reading stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'm not the most prolific planner, I can tell you that. So in my case, I just rather have the students, and it was a good decision for me. I notice a lot of school districts don't like to give that, especially the 25% bump, because a lot of times the teachers will be making more than the principal.
Well, then the principal can go teach full time and not have a planning period. I didn't know about that 25%.
Yeah, that varies by district too. Some districts it's like 10%, and I just thought, man, I don't know if it's worth all that to me. I got to keep my sanity to a degree.
Well, but the theme here is income maximization. While at the job, you looked for the opportunities that would give you that boost, and then you took advantage of them. And that's something that everybody, regardless whether you're a teacher or not, can take advantage of.
How and tax advantages.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I think that's the big, the overall theme to this entire podcast is your incredible tax advantaged approach to this. But I just think from the income side, what we can learn is, hey, there's always that raise to go after if you're not a teacher, or that chance to go after a new job opportunity, or kind of just know your market value and what options are on the table. Can I get that extra $6,000 a year by getting this degree stacked in at my corporation? You just knew your market, you did your homework, and you took advantage of every opportunity that was available to you, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I noticed a lot of my coworkers didn't really seek out the pay bumps. I knew one person who was my department head for many years, very bright individual, didn't go back for a graduate degree. And I thought, man, you're just leaving $6,000 a year on the table. This person could easily get in a specialist degree. That's $12,000 a year. So, and then you can probably get those degrees for, I don't know, back then, $5,000-6,000. So they pay for themselves in a year. But yeah, like now my current job, there's like a weightlifting, it's like $20 if you cover the weight room for an hour. And it's still like on the clock, where I have to be at school anyway. And I'll take that anytime anybody wants to give it to me. And I noticed my last paycheck, it was for a couple of months, but it was $300. I like to work out. So I go in there and lift with them, do push-ups and kettlebell swings and all that, but I'm getting paid. But a lot of people, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be in the weight room anyway. You're going to pay me to be here? Deal. I'll take it.
This reminds me, I got my first job. They offered an employee stock purchase plan. Sorry, I'm going a slight tangent here. I'll be 1 minute, I promise, guys. But basically the rules were this: if you buy the stock, you could get the company stock at a 15% discount, publicly traded company. The stock accrues over a quarter, and then you can sell it right away. And you incur a capital gain if you do that, or you can hold it and defer those. But nobody did this. Not a single person in my department, which is the finance department, as far as I know, was buying any stock. And I thought I discovered this big secret. So I put my entire paycheck into the employee stock purchase plan, bought the stock, and then sold it immediately and realized my capital gain. And then I explained this to everybody. And I was like, look, not only did I tell you about it last quarter, I did it and I collected. Now you do it, right? Nope. And there's this free money, this opportunity for income all around us that for some reason it seems people just aren't willing to go and take the little effort to go out, reach and grab and claim it for themselves. And I don't know why, it just, that your story reminds me of that. And I think it's just such a applicable lesson for anybody who's trying to go toward financial freedom. To just go after those little things.
And you're saying it's a little effort. It's a little effort. Jerry's actually in the weight room already. He'd be there for free. But he knows they're looking for somebody and they'll pay him $20. I will take $20.
Those high schoolers are kind of stinky.
Well, okay. I guess it's been a while since I was in high school, but yeah, I remember those gym rooms didn't smell so pretty. But I will take $20 for something I was going to do for free anyway, all day long. Scott, I'm about to take a drink of Diet Coke. Will you give me $20 for it? I'm going to do it anyway. Like, it seems so silly that people won't seek these opportunities out. What is that quote? Live like nobody else now so you can live like nobody else in the future, or how I made that. Yeah. But this is just, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me why people don't take advantage of this.
Well, that's part of the reason why I still blog off and on, and I put my updates. And now that I've got 7-figure net worth, I'm feeling kind of weird about putting those numbers out there. But there's a lot of narratives in society about how everything is impossible now, and that we're going to have some guru come take care of us. And that's not the way I view things. But at the same time, I figured, well, they need an example. And that's why I just lay it all out there, because I was a 2.0 student at Davidson. Did graduate early, though. I just wanted to get out of there so bad. I screwed up forever and a day. Didn't know what I was doing. I'm teaching public school, which is supposedly like an economic wasteland, according to everything I ever hear. And I'm like, well, let's flip the script. Let's turn this on its head and show people how you do it. And you can do this with many jobs. Okay, let's say you don't have a 450 you still got a 401k, probably got an IRA, probably got an HSA. Fill those buckets. Get your debt in check, start filling buckets. And when you start seeing, hardcore savings is the fast forward button on net worth building. When you start saving $50,000, $100,000 a year, hey man, that's real money. And you'll get from zero to something substantial very quickly.
Yeah, if you could do it on 2 teachers' salaries, a lot of people should be able to do it, I think. So
that's exactly it. And one of the most popular episodes of the Real Estate Podcast was show number 238 with Michael Swann. He is a teacher. He lives in San Diego. So of course he has no money and he's a millionaire because he started investing in real estate in San Diego, where it's really, really expensive. And he did something unusual, and he's living a better life because of it.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, what that means, since 2012, I've taken 3.5 years off from work where I didn't work at all. Took a half year, and then we took the 2013-14 year as a family. We homeschooled our son, went to Mexico for 2 or 3 months. And then we taught 2 years in Douglas, Georgia, saved all the money. It's like, I don't know, we saved $260 in 2 years. And then we took 2 school years off, and now we're back here. And this is the end of our 2nd year. So I don't have to work, but when I do work, my wife and I, we save all our money, or we fill all the buckets, and we can easily get 100K. We did 130,000. We saved 130,000 last year.
Okay.
That's amazing.
I can hear people driving in their cars right now saying, but what about all the growth that he's missing out on by taking his money out of the 457 plan? So can you shed some light on that? Because you were investing, but then you pulled money out. You're not taking out all the money in the 457 plans, right?
Well, let's see. The 457 in public schools here in Georgia, generally they have variable annuity products. They have high fees that I don't like investing in high fee plans.
Same.
So I keep everything in cash. And when I separate service, I pull that money. I have rolled money from that to an IRA before. So my money's not really invested. There's kind of an opportunity cost when I'm saving in those buckets because I don't think they're very good for investing. So, part of the plan is always to quit so I can move my money to greener pastures.
Okay.
And give you an example, my wife's not going to teach at the end of this year. She's going to be done. So I already have, we already know when we're done here, September, we're going to roll her money to Vanguard.
Okay. So you have a high salary now. Technically, you have a 0 salary because you invest it all. Nice for you. but you have a high salary now. So when you're reducing your current taxable income, and then you've got terrible options. So you're not even investing in the 457 plan. You're just putting it there to hold. You're not paying the high taxes. Then you pull it out at the below 12%.
Yeah. In my range, I'm comfortable with the taxation rate, which is, that first 45 for sure. That's, I get that 18,000 in that account. And then, so if I pulled, what would that be, like 27,000? Okay, I'm at 45. I don't owe anything. And if I want some more, I just know I'm going to pay 12% on it. Okay. So yeah, there's always that. And it's kind of frustrating at times. I wish I could invest in my 403B, for example. And actually I did for the first time. I put $18,000 into some funds in my 403B because the market dropped, 35-40%. So I put some money in, and I made 2,000 or 3,000 on it. But still, at the end of the day, I've got like way more in fees than I would ever pay if I was out getting my first choice products.
Got it.
Because I'm understanding what Gerry's saying, and I'm trying to explain it so other people get it too. Like, those annuities are crap. Mm-hmm. An annuity is only benefits the person who's selling it. It never benefits the person who's actually investing in it.
Average fees 2.25% nationally.
That's ridiculous.
My index fund is 130 basis points for S&P 500, basically.
That's common in a lot of these retirement accounts. It's just why you stock the money away, tax advantaged, and then you move it at the first opportunity, which is exactly what you're doing, which I think
is still a benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're paying somebody has finagled their way into extracting a large fee from you in order for your access to that tax advantage.
Oh, and the account I'm talking about is one of the better ones. I mean, they don't have surrender charges. I mean, some of these products are just, I call them wealth extraction devices. I mean, it's just a transfer mechanism from the saver's money to the intermediary.
Yeah. Well, so let's zoom out here. So over the last 15 years, you have been largely, I guess, 18, 19 years, largely you've been a teacher with a couple of years breaks in between. You saved an increasingly large amount of money. You've built a massive net worth, mostly in tax advantaged accounts. Have you also built a pension, or are you eligible for pension as part of that?
Yeah. At age 60, I will get a pension. I think mine's going to be roughly $30,000 to $32,000 because I'm not going to do 30 years, and my wife's going to get about $25,000, I believe. And I believe that has a 3% cost of living adjustment, or at least it has. We'll see what's going to happen going forward. The Georgia pension plan the TRS is in pretty good shape compared to many states, but we'll see what Mr. Arithmetic says about all of that.
Fantastic. Yeah. And then you're also going to be eligible for Social Security, right?
Yes, but I found out that I don't pay Social Security in this district, so I'm going to be subject to the windfall offset, or I'm not going to get full benefits. So, I mean, there's a chance I might get, something. I will probably get something. I don't really know what that number will be, but yeah, I mean, if I get it, it'll be gravy. And I don't really talk about my pension in my blog because, but I'm 56, so that's right down the road.
Yep. So you've got a very conservative, very strong financial fortress that you've constructed for yourself and your family over the years here. Are we missing any parts of that? Is there anything outside of the retirement accounts or do you have real estate, rental real estate, those kinds of things?
Well, I know I'm going to disappoint the BiggerPockets crowd. I have a house. Like I mentioned before, I paid $68,000, a 3-2 brick owned by one family. We really like this place. We're probably just going to be here. We don't have any rentals or anything. And I'll be honest, I played basketball my whole life and I conjugate verbs for a living. I might as well turn in my man card. I'm so unhandy around the house. It's embarrassing. Sorry, Mindy.
You could come to my house and I will teach you everything. And I have every job to do. So
the unmanly professional former basketball player and coach. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know anything about cars. It's pathetic.
No, it is not pathetic. You don't have to know about that just because you're a man. But if you want to learn, you can come to my house and I will teach you.
Okay. And as far as taxable accounts, we have like $11,000 in a taxable mutual fund. So we're all pre-tax. And what I've been doing over the last couple of years is moving some over. I've been doing Roth conversions. And when the market took that big dip, I think we got $40,000 over. So I know I'm going to pay some tax on that, but I think future me will be happy with that. At least I hope. So that's funny because that's a lot of our income. On a taxable year. Last year I think I did $20,000 of conversion. So yeah, but as far as having other things out there, no, we've just done it from those 4 buckets we talked about before.
Well, what about geographic arbitrage?
Yes, well, we took that.
Where do you live?
I live in Statenville, Georgia, one stoplight town in Eccles County, about 20 country miles from Valdosta, Georgia, which is a university town. So if we need stuff, we drive there and go to Walmart, Sam's, and get a bite to eat if we like. So it's not like I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm 20 miles from real shopping. I'm also about 2 hours and 15 minutes from Jekyll Island Beach for beach trips. A little less than 2 hours from Jacksonville, about the same distance from, actually about 140 from Tallahassee. So if we want to go to Costco and stuff, we drive over there and we go to all the restaurants. And we can also get to some really nice beaches from here. I'm just far enough away where I don't have to worry about hurricanes like people on the coast do. But man, it's the Florida coasts are just beautiful. And we love Jekyll Island as well. So I think we're in a real sweet spot. Low cost of living, good day trips. We do travel rewards. So I've got lots of rooms that say Country Inn and Suite. We'll go stay there, go to the beach, stay there at night, get up and have a beach day and then drive home. It's a great 2 days at the beach. What else? Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is, we took those 2 years off, but one of those years we lived in Mexico. So our son could go to school. He did his 6th grade year at a bilingual private school. And Merida, Mexico, colonial town, I don't know, 800,000 people more or less. I'm not really a city person, but I love it there because it's very walkable. People are incredibly friendly, so much to do. But for the whole year, apartment, tuition, meals out, groceries, the whole kit and caboodle, $23,000 for the whole year.
So are you going to go back there?
That probably helps in Spanish class too, right? The memories from that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we are permanent residents in Mexico now. We went to the consulate in Atlanta and we did all our paperwork. We're still U.S. citizens, always will be, but we can stay in Mexico as long as we want. That whole process, I didn't use a lawyer or anything. It cost about $1,000 or $1,100 for all 3 of us total. And I love Mexico. That part of Mexico, the Yucatan, is really nice because it's only like a 2 hour and 15-minute flight from Atlanta. So in the same time zone for the most part. It might be central. It goes back and forth. But, everyone says, oh, you're so far in Mexico. Actually, we're not that far, And my brother-in-law did come see us. And he was just blown away. He was like, everyone's got their image of Mexico, which is generally, like some back alley in Tijuana. You can find all that stuff you want, but where we live is awesome, beautiful place.
I just looked it up. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? It's on the Pacific Ocean, but it isn't. I guess my American education didn't show me where Mexico is or how it looks. It kind of curves around and you're at the very top of the curve.
Yeah, we're at the top of the Yucatan Peninsula there. And the thing is, that part of Mexico is very different. It's almost like Alaska is to the States. You don't just happen across it. You got to be going there. And the people, they're very proud. They're almost like Texans in a sense. They're very proud of being Yucatecos. And it really comes through at times. And a lot of people have a lot of expats there now, and a lot of Mexicans from other parts have come there because it's very safe. So, and they're quick to tell everybody, if they ever say something negative about the region, particularly to other Mexicans, about, well, don't forget you moved here for a reason. Basically, where you live isn't safe. So, there are many parts of Mexico that are totally fine. But if you watch the news all the time, and I don't watch the news, I'm scared to go out the door anywhere.
Let me ask you this. You have just outlined a masterful approach to handling your taxes, income, spending, building wealth. You've got a financial fortress with all these different things. You even think about your pension because you're self-sufficient without that, it sounds like, for the most part. I just love the overall approach. Which class do you teach this in at your high school?
I teach Spanish 1 and 2 in a middle school class. They had me doing ESL last year, but I found out this year they're going to have me doing a personal finance class and a weightlifting class.
Yes.
So,
all right.
Oh, I wish that we could show
it.
both Scott and I were raising our arms. Yay! When he said that, I'm so pleased.
And we're going to have Phi Day Friday.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love it.
Yeah, because, at the end of the day, what it's about having your financial independence, as Mr. Money Mustache always points out, so that you're happy. If you're in debt your whole life, you don't get to live your life. And it's amazing how that is almost revolutionary to people. But, there's a lot. It's a big world. I have a lot of interest. And now that we have some money and frugal lifestyle, we can probably go anywhere. I want to, and I share that message with my students. I get a lot of money questions, even in my Spanish class. Some kids have read my blog, and they're like, oh, Mr. Born, he's got a lot of money. Well, it's all in my retirement account. It's not I can't access it, but they'll ask me stuff. What should I do? And I'll pull them aside and show them things.
That's awesome. That's changing lives for forever. That's dramatic impact. So really, love to hear that, and that's being taught at your school, and you're passing that along.
Well, one of the kids I pulled aside had a lot of questions. I pointed him to your book, Set for Life, and he just got a big job with the Navy. He's going to be, I believe, a nuclear engineer, and he got awesome. a big package. But he knows what he's going to do with this money. It's not going for a Mercedes and a motorcycle. Yeah, so that kid is so far ahead of people his age just because of reading your book and him seeking me out and asking me questions.
Well, thank you for the very nice compliment. That kid must be very outstanding because only the top scorers on the entry exams to the Navy go on to be the Navy nukes. Is that right? And they get that big fat signing bonus. So I know that's a big draw.
Yeah, we were very proud of him. I mean, coming out of the small, we have 4,500 people in our whole county, right? 4,500
county
and the county. Yeah, and there's 1,000 people in my town. I'm a townie. I'm a city person here. And for a guy to go from a small town like that onto a job like that is very impressive. We're very.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, very good. It's wonderful to hear that all that's the good stuff that's going on at the school there. Do you have anything else that we should be talking about or asking or thinking about before we move on to our famous four that we didn't get to in the interview?
Oh, I would say that, let me just talk about this briefly. Now that I have more time wealth, I have a different outlook on work. I can do things that normal employees won't do. Everyone can tell I'm very relaxed at work, and I'll give them, they ask me something, I'm just going to tell them what I think. I'm not going to be rude or obnoxious, but I'll give them my honest opinion. But a big focus of my life now has been a lot of working out, just kind of being an old athlete, my weight got higher at a point. But I just wanted to mention, with my time, I've started a jogging streak, and today I did jog number 1,397. That's that many days without missing. I have not missed a jog.
That's awesome.
And I've done 9,105 push-ups in 2020. I do push-ups every day.
How many? 91?
9,105. So I track those. I need to put those in my blog. I just have a Google Calendar where I mark them every day. But and it's amazing. I'm 56, and my mom and always have this conversation. She's 78, and she's like, she can't believe how well she feels. And I'm like, yeah, I feel athletic. Now I don't have the next gear, but I can still, today I jogged 33 minutes. And that just blows my mind because, once again, there are these narratives out there. Oh, you get older, you just, you break down and you become type 2 diabetic. A lot of those things are lifestyle. And, at one time I probably was, pre-metabolic syndrome. I had a big gut, even though I wasn't drinking a lot of beer or anything. But, now I feel athletic. And it's just, a lot of that is mindset and habits and having the time to do it. So it's very important to me.
Now, I think it speaks to a lot of these things seem to go together. Good wealth building habits are often coupled with good lifestyle, eating, exercise, relationship, those types of other habits as well. So I think it speaks to the well-roundedness kind of helps contribute to all those things.
Yeah. And when you have time, you can work on those things, right?
Yeah.
But if you're under the gun, all that stuff is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely true. Okay, well, it's now time for the famous 4 questions. These are the same questions we ask of all of our guests. I almost called you Ed.
I answer to Ed too.
Gerry, are you ready?
Yes, lay it on me.
What is your favorite finance book?
Well, I've already referenced Paul Terhorst, Cash In the American Dream, so I'm going to give a plug for another one. That's a good nuts and bolts. This one, Paul Terhorst, was more for mindset and that gave me aspirations. I thought Eric Tyson's Personal Finance for Dummies is where I learned about, pre-tax accounts and regular accounts. And I didn't know that stuff. And that really kind of gave me the framework in my mind. And it was after my MBA that I learned all this. It's so embarrassing to admit that. But I'm really glad I read that book. And I think you can get it for like $15.
You should not be embarrassed to admit that because there's a lot of people who don't know that after they've got their MBA. That's something that lots of people never learn.
True.
And even people who understand a lot of those things don't have a good framework about which to use and which to apply and why. They're just kind of doing it to defer taxes generally, even if they're going to have a low income year or whatever it is, but not knowing the differences there, I think it was
worth the $15. That's for sure.
Love it. Well, what would you consider to be your biggest money mistake?
I wouldn't. There were a couple things where I missed on that would have been better financially, but I think my biggest mistake was just not having any financial knowledge or financial awareness. Let's face the facts, from 22 to 33, 31, I was just clueless. And I call it the lost decade. And, there's guys that fire in the amount of time I was just, wandering the desert. And I don't know, I didn't really learn this stuff from my parents. So I didn't really have an example in that regard, like how to do something really, efficiently. But I just thought you go work, you get money, you spend it. And that's just a terrible way to roll through life, because there's people who'll give you a job to give you money. And, I don't care what your job is, at a certain point, you get tired of it. And I just didn't have purpose financially. But once I got that, everything just got easier. I knew where my money was going to go. And just to give you an example real quick, I played basketball. I think I had maybe $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 cash saved. It should have been invested or something, or at least part of it. No, I did use it for something good. I went to Brazil for 3 months and learned some Portuguese. But, I could have put half of that away in an IRA or an index, anything, or a rental property, who knows? But no clue. Just live for the moment. And that was just, that was probably my biggest thing, is going so many years knowing nothing financially.
What is your best piece of advice for people who are just starting out?
I wrote something for this. I used to think it was the nuts and bolts things, but now I realize it's more mindset. You got to get your mind ready for what you're going to do, and realize that first, it's possible to build wealth. There's so many counter narratives in our society now. In America, you can't make money in America. Well, what's the other option? You can do it. It's going to be rocky. It's not going to be always pretty and smooth. You'll be viewed as a freak by many of your contemporaries and your friends. It's going to take time and pass in stages. You can't jump the stages. You don't wake up and you're fine. But at the same time, you got to realize you're going to have some fun on that 5 to 15 year journey. It can't all be about money and just, you don't want to come 10 years down the road and you're like, man, I hit 5, but God, that sucked. That's no way to live. You got to have fun, and I always tell people, cultivate your hobbies, low cost hobbies, take vacations, go see things, but do them frugally. You have a lot of fun. So yeah, it's a mindset issue and just a belief, you got to view that you can do things.
I think some people struggle with this. When you start out and you're trying to go on this journey, if you want to start saving money or begin approaching the $50,000 you're putting away every year, that you said was kind of the milestone where you begin making that rapid progress. In order to get to that point, you've got to live below your means. And that means that you're living a different lifestyle than the colleagues that you're working with, right? Or maybe your friends. Yeah. And that is unrelatable to them. In a lot of cases, they don't understand, why are you living in that half duplex? Why are you driving that car? Why are you bringing lunch every day instead of buying it with us or whatever it is, right? And they can't relate. And then a couple of years go by, and all of a sudden you have $100,000 to put down towards a rental property, for example, or $50,000 in your IRA or whatever. And that equally to those same people is an unrelatable amount of money. It doesn't make sense. How'd you buy this $400,000 rental? Well, I put $100,000 down. Where'd you get $100,000? Well, I've been driving that car and living in that, and that's the problem here, is those two sides. Like, people can't understand either one of them, I think, at either point in time. And that I think that's what I thought of when you were making your comment and your advice there.
We had 2 used cars for 12 years and we drove them, and everyone kept waiting to see us get a new car. And I'm like, no, as long as those things are rolling, because I like funding my accounts, but that makes you an odd bird. You got money, spend it. So
I am very thankful that my dad drove a 1970 AMC Hornet for 20 years. I was embarrassed of that car. Nobody else had that car. Do you know what AMC is? American Motor Company. They made the Gremlin and the Pacer, and the Hornet's like the nice version, but still not beautiful. And
20 years.
20 years he drove that car. And he bought me, and my sister and I are the same age. He bought us a car to share when we turned 16, because we had different jobs, and 2 cars wasn't going to work anymore, so we have 3. He bought us a Chevette, which is, not the pinnacle of American motor quality. But he would work on them for us, and he would do these things for us. And I've never been really into cars, except once, because I don't care. It gets me from A to B. And we're driving 2 cars that we bought new now, but they're the only 2 cars that we've ever bought new. Everything else has always been used. And like, what kind of car does Scott drive? Does it make him less of a person because he drives some older, what is it, a Corolla, a Camry?
Corolla, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what does it matter that he drives that car? He's still a nice guy. Jerry, what kind of car do you drive right now?
A Toyota Prius, 2014. We bought that when we moved back from Mexico for a little less than $14,000. Nice. And it's, I wanted something, a hatchback and 4-door, so we can do beach trips, get groceries. And we don't drive a lot. So, and it's funny because some kids think it's a cool car, but we have a lot of truck culture here. And I'm 6'7", and I get in this little Prius. And some people are just like, oh man, you're not a manly man. But yeah, I'm the same with you guys as far as like cars. I'm not a car person. I've had nice cars, and I can't fix it. It costs a lot of money. We had a Beamer back in the day. We take that in, it'd be $800 for regular maintenance. So the heck with that.
All right. Well, what is the most challenging question of the Famous Four here? What is your favorite joke to tell at parties?
I had to confer with my son on this one. And I do a lot of dad jokes and bad jokes in the classroom.
Perfect.
And so my son, he said, I have to tell this one. What did the fish say when he swam into the wall? Damn.
I like it. That's a damn good one.
Yeah, you just love that one. I like pirate jokes. How much does it cost for a pirate to get his ears pierced? A buccaneer.
I like it.
Oh, nice.
What did pirates say when he went to the golf course?
Oh God.
Lay it on. I got to hear.
I matey.
I'm
Wait for it.
Oh gosh, yeah. God, that's so bad. It's awesome.
I once got into a pirate jokes battle with a real pirate at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. So that was a fun night.
Well, I
I
thought
thought
about
that was a joke.
That's not a joke, but that's not a joke.
Fight with a pirate?
No, I just
pirate joke fight.
He would tell me a pirate joke, and I would one up him, and then he would one up me, and then I got humiliated in front of everyone. So.
Oh wow, yeah, he's probably got a lot of practice walking around as a pirate. Yeah.
So does Scott.
Well, okay. All my students, they learn I call it the Auntie Joke, and I'll just let you hear it, and then I'll explain it after. There's two guys in a bathtub, and one guy says, "Hey, you mind passing the soap?" And the other guy says, "Hey, what do you think I am, a radio?" And so there's got a great hook. There's no punchline. So I told the students, you can use this when people are dropping jokes, and you jump in and you drop that. And it's just an absolute mood killer, causes confusion. So one of my favorite students and basketball players at LaGrange, he sends me an email one day, and he says, "Hey, coach, it was rush week. I'm at this fraternity party. I don't think I want to pledge with them. The guys are telling these jokes." And I realized, oh my God, this is my opportunity to use it. He said, "I laid this thing out there, everyone there, and no one talked to me the rest of the party. I was the biggest weirdo loser." He said it was perfect. Nice. So Auntie Joke. Feel free to use it, everybody.
I love it. Okay, Gerry, where can people find out more about you?
Those are great jokes, by the way.
Thank you. My blog is millionaireeducator.com. And I blog him frequently. I got some things in the hopper here. I always will do my tax posts and, like mid-year net worth updates, things like that. Let's see. I also am on Twitter at ed_mills_. That's my old alias. Millionaire Educator, Ed Mills. The problem was that name was too good. No one ever saw that. They thought my name was Ed. So I'm there, and I have a small Facebook presence where I just drop my articles. But feel free to reach out to me, ask me a question. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a tax expert, but I'll give you my 2 cents on your scenarios.
I don't know. You're pretty good at those taxes, or pretty good at not paying those taxes.
Well, yeah, I reverse engineer them. Remember, it's like, but if you start asking about depreciation tables and all that, no.
Well, but
not your guy there.
That's fantastic. Okay, we will link to your everything at the show notes for this episode, which can be found at biggerpockets.com/moneyshow124. Gerry, this was fantastic. I love your story. I love that you're taking advantage of all the things that you can take advantage of. And you are living like nobody else so you can live like nobody else. And you have a pretty awesome life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd be here at this point, I would just tell everybody in going away here is that, really, who do you go to work for every day? To pay bills, to pay taxes? You're always going to pay bills and taxes, but it should not be the vast majority of your paycheck. So do your best to get money on your side of the ledger and keep your taxes in check and, grow your wealth so you can live the life you're supposed to live.
Awesome. Ooh. Awesome advice.
That's awesome. Okay. We will talk to you soon. Thanks, Gerry.
Thank y'all. I had a great time.
We had a great time too. This is an awesome story.
Yeah, this is really fantastic.
Okay, Scott, I get asked this question actually kind of frequently, and this episode was inspired by a question that Nastasia posted in our Facebook group. It says, is anybody just starting out? After years of struggling as a freelancer, I finally got a great job at age 35. First time to have health insurance, retirement benefits, and the like. I have a million questions, but really they all come down to how can I catch up?
Yeah, this is a common issue because a lot of our guests, and even some of our hosts like myself, we got started pretty early, as you alluded to in the intro with my terrible attempted pun response. But basically, it's harder, right? The rules of money don't change. You got to spend less than you earn. You've got to try to increase your income. You've got to invest for the long run, and you've got to allow time to compound your investments. And those advantages do accrue to the younger people that are getting started. But I think Gerry really just showed us, hey, if 2 teachers can catch up when they're starting from zero at age 33 or 35. He actually clarified with us after the show that he got back to zero officially at the age of 35, not 33, as he mentioned in the show. But he got back to zero at 35 and then was able to become a multimillionaire, and is known about town amongst his students about that he's the guy who's good with money there. So I think it's certainly possible for a lot of people to play catch up here. And like he mentioned, if you can fire, just in your 20s by doing this right, you can certainly catch up between 35 and 55 to an astounding degree without having to do anything Herculean.
I completely agree. So if you are listening and you're not a member of our Facebook group, go join today. It's facebook.com/groups/BP Money. Please answer the questions because we can't let you in if you don't, and if you don't agree to our rules too. But it's a great group. You can... Sorry, Scott.
Mindy is just notorious for kicking people out who break the rules or spam things. So we have
a
spam-free Facebook. One guy posted a comment. He was like, wow, there's a spam, and it was gone within 3 minutes.
Yes, this is my group. I don't enjoy going to other groups and all this spam and garbage in there, and you don't have to worry about it in my group because I kick it out. You are not welcome if you just want to spam. However, if you'd like to talk to like-minded people, fellow frugal weirdos, about your journey to financial independence, you have questions about money or, really anything else, as long as it's not gold and Bitcoin, unless it's a respectful question. If you're not trying to sell me some garbage, please join our Facebook group because we are open to everybody who isn't going to spam. Okay, from episode 100.
It's a resounding endorsement of our Facebook group.
I want to create a place where people can ask questions safely and comfortably and not get spammed.
Love it.
So,
well, yes. Well, and we hang out there. It's fun.
Yes.
So.
From episode 124 of the BiggerPockets Money Podcast, he is Scott Trench and I am Mindy Jensen, and we will see you on Facebook.